Monday. Okay, listen. It is a great day to discern. Is it not? Is it not? It is a great day to discern every day. Okay, every day that ends in Y is a great day to discern. You guys, we are back. Okay, listen, we are back with another video podcast. Okay, on the Kingdom Code podcast, where we talk about everything discernment, okay? Because we are the Kingdom Code, which stands for a community of daughters everywhere, a community of discerners everywhere. Yes, yeah, of course. It has two meanings. Of course, because y'all know me and y'all know I'm Team Extra, okay? My name is Delores, the pastor's daughter. I am your hostess with and doing the absolute mostest, okay? Okay, we are back, you guys. We are back, and I'm so excited. Listen, I've been telling y'all this entire time that I am so excited about this series. We are doing a book review of A Yearn to Discern, finding purpose and fulfillment through discernment. And this is a book by R.L. Maco. And when I tell y'all she put her foot in this book, y'all know how to look. Some of y'all might not be privy to that reference, okay? Now, when you say you put your foot in something, usually they're talking about food, right? They're like, she put her foot in that pie. She put her foot in them greens, right? Which means that she put a lot of love, honey. It has a lot of flavor. It's good. It's good to the soul. It's good for the soul. It provides sustenance. It does the job. Plus, honey, it tastes so good. That's what it means, okay? When they say she put her foot in it, okay? And Ariel Mako put her foot in this book. Do you hear me? Listen, I know you don't really hear people, see people, whatever the case may be, get excited about books, okay? But listen, it's not necessarily about the book. It's about all of the wealth of information that this book holds, the transformation potential. That if you could just grasp the concepts, you guys, do you hear the thunder out there? If you can just grab the concepts of discernment, right? Remember, we talked about this before. She said it's a win win situation when you use discernment. So, what does that mean? Put another way, you cannot lose. You cannot lose. Your world cannot lose. Your loved ones cannot lose when you are making good decisions, when you are making the best decisions of your life. I am, honey, your discernment and relationship coach. I am here to be your guide as you make the absolute best decisions for your life. Now, let's go ahead and get started, honey, because this is juicy. Remember last time we talked about it, honey, we was getting into some juicy scenarios, okay? So Ariel Mako has some good examples in here that we are going to discuss today. The topic is to lend or not to lend, okay? Discernment in lending money. How many times? How many times, y'all, have we lent money and we just didn't have it? The person told us to pay us back, but we knew that person had a track record of not paying us back. We knew, right? Maybe we didn't have it to give, but we gave it anyway, even when we had all the facts in front of us to know that we were going to be putting ourselves in the worst position by lending this money. Y'all, how many times? So we're going to get into it today. But I'm going to give y'all just a few minutes to get on in here. Honey, get on in here. And if you really taking this topic seriously, I know you got you a good old notebook. I know you got you a good old notebook and you taking notes and you're applying these principles to your life. You're taking these reflective questions and really doing a good deep dive, internal look, self-awareness, self-analysis, the whole process. of just deciding and determining where you stand and where you want to go on this foundation of discernment. Okay, so let me give y'all a few minutes to get on in here, honey. Like and share the video as you come in, and let's get ready to dive deep into this topic of discernment. All right, y'all, we here. Honey, we are back and we are not going to waste any more time. Okay. Now, let me just do this real quick, real quick announcement. Okay. Now, y'all know if you follow me on Facebook, y'all know I am a line dancer. Okay. Like I take it seriously. I love it. It's my happy place. Listen, don't even try to take line dance out my life because we're going to fight. Okay. Now, today we have line dance class. I call it line dance Mondays. Okay. We do it every Monday unless there's a holiday or unless the venue, which is Carver Community Center in Anderson, Alabama, if in fact we are not doing it that particular day, right? The center's closed. Now, today I will not be in attendance. So if you are watching this video and you are a line dancer as well, if you're intending on joining me in class, I will not be there. However, I am not the instructor, so it really don't matter. Okay, it really doesn't matter if I'm there or not. But because I talk so much about it, I like to let people know when I'm there and when I'm not. So I won't be in attendance today. I will actually be attending a course. I am gearing up to launch my signature coaching program, okay? Where I help you make the best decisions of your life. And we are talking about in life, in all areas of your life and in love, right? Because I am your discernment and relationship coach, honey, okay? And we don't play about those things. We take those things very, very seriously, right? And we want to make the absolute best decisions that we can for ourselves and the ones that we love. But sometimes we need a little assistance, okay? A little assistance in that area. And I am your girl. I'm your girl that will assist you in your decision making process. And so we will be doing that based on the principles of discernment, right? Of having that foundation of discernment. So I'm hoping that you have enjoyed this lesson on discernment that we have gotten into. We are about, I would say, 25% through the book. Okay, so we're about 25% through the book, and what you can expect from me coming up is more discernment videos. Now we are actually going to be putting these principles into practice, into play in our everyday lives, right? But on this channel, and I'm streaming 2 channels on YouTube, I believe, two Facebook pages and 2 Facebook groups, I believe. We are also on Twitter, I believe. So we are expanding and we are growing and we are really getting this message of discernment out there. But you guys, I really need your help. Right? I really need your help to get this message out there. Lottie dottie every doggone body. Okay? Lottie dottie everybody. Lottie dottie, every doggone body needs to know about discernment. Okay. So you could share this podcast, this episode, and I created a podcast playlist right on YouTube. So you can go to my YouTube page, the Kingdom Code podcast. Excuse me, and just go ahead and listen to the entire playlist. That's going to take you from the very beginning of the book where we started and then and through today, right? So you can get this lesson. You can send that playlist to somebody and just say, hey, go ahead and just just tune in, you know what I'm saying? And get all into this playlist, honey, okay? Because we are digging deep into discernment, and I'm pretty sure this is probably as deep as you have ever gone in this subject. You've heard a lot about discernment, people have used it as a buzzword, but never really explaining how, never empowering you, never enriching you, never teaching you how to discern, how to activate this God given gift that we all have. We all have discernment, y'all. Okay. So you are not trying to look for it. You don't have to sign up to receive, you know. All I'm doing in Dolores's daily dose of discernment is just giving you the antidote, right? The antidote, a daily antidote. Because from what I can see, you guys, from my research and my studies and what I have applied to my very own life, is that when you have discernment, you cannot be deceived. Okay? So all the trickery that's out there, all the lies, all the gaslighting, you know, all of the things. Excuse me. It's like it's this daily dose of discernment. Discernment is like a repellent, you know? It's the kryptonite. And I know we usually talk about kryptonite in terms of what's bad for Superman, right? But doesn't a deceiver, these religious narcissists, these narcissists that exist in our societies, don't they believe themselves to be Superman? Excuse me. Don't they believe themselves to be that? Discernment is that antidote. Discernment is that superpower that you need to battle this world that is full of deception. Okay. And so let's go ahead and dig in. Let's do a brief recap. Okay. Let me go back. Right. Let me go back. We are still in chapter 4. Remember, we talked about this scenario about the about the guy who was like his cousin called, right? He was like, Cuzzo. Okay. Look, I'm imagining it happen like this in my mind, right? Like, Cuzzo. Okay. My power bill is about to get cut off. I need $300. Okay. I'm at the cable company right now. I'm in line. I need you to come up here right now and bring me $300 so I can pay my cable bill so my cable bill won't get cut off. This was a scenario. And of course, I'm telling it to you in my own special way. But we learned a lot through this story. And even though it was a pretty, I think it was a pretty humorous scenario. And we could take this same scenario and the principles that we learned while discussing that case and apply it to just about everything. How many times has someone made their situation, right? Their lack of preparation, their financial irresponsibility, and other things that are going on in their lives. How many times have they made it not only our responsibility, but our emergency, right? And what ends up happening is you're not really able to make a discerning decision when you allow that sense of urgency, that sense of responsibility that does not belong to you to actually influence you and influence your decision making. But sometimes we allow someone's sense of urgency, them making it something that is so important and just needed right now that you don't even have time to think. You don't have time to think. What are the implications of this? Excuse me, you guys. Oh, something's tickling my throat. What are the implications of this? What are the potential pitfalls here? What are the negatives that can happen if I take on this person's problem? And not only if I take it on, but if I allow it to become my emergency, right? And so that was a scenario that we went over. In this chapter, we talked about what discernment is not, right? And so we talked about what discernment is. And while we are talking about that, let me go ahead and do this. Put this on here. Discernment is having the ability to sift through different types of information, constant adversity, and potential threats in life while consistently making appropriate choices, rational judgments, and proper decisions that will propel you forward with the steadfast purpose of improving your life and ultimately improving the world around you. Excuse me. And that is an excerpt straight from the book, straight from R.L. Maco's A Yearn to Discern, Finding Purpose and Fulfillment Through Discernment. Now, let me go ahead and put up this quick copyright disclaimer because you guys know we are doing a thorough and full review of this book, right? This book, A Yearn to Discern. Now, this is not my book. I didn't write this book. However, child, I feel like it was written for me, okay? She wrote this book for me, child. But this is not my book. And so I encourage you all to go and purchase this book. Go purchase this book. I'm telling you, this will be one of the best investments that you can make. And I've read this book, I think twice already. I think this may be my third time or this may be my second time. Excuse me. You see here, I was reading through the hard copy of the book, which I have, but this is the Kindle version of the book. And you see here where I've already included my highlights, some notes sections and all of that in the Kindle version of this book because it's so good that I felt like I needed both versions. Okay. Like I need both of them. Like, give me both, honey. Give me both. And speaking of which, you could totally buy my book the same way. Okay. You can you can get the Kindle version and you can get the hard copy version, honey. Okay, the paperback. Let me just go ahead and do a little shameless plug while we're at it, Just a little shameless plug here. Okay. This is my memoir, The Pastor's Daughter Provoked. Okay. And this book is what I would call real life discerning. Real life. Like you will, when you read my book, you will see and witness my discernment process and how I discovered that my father was a religious narcissist, that he was engaging in spiritual abuse against his family members, including myself, including my mother, and including the church members. And I uncovered this and exposed this. And I did this, I wrote this book based on a final phone call that I had with my father. This was the day that I left the church. And I guess you could pretty much say I denounced, my father's church, um, and left the church. The very next day, my father called me. And just like many people who have experienced spiritual abuse, but don't really understand all of the dynamics of it, it includes every other type of abuse, which is why I really feel like spiritual abuse is the worst type of abuse. Because what happens is these people typically engage in all other forms of abuse, right? But they validate, they escape accountability, they justify their behavior on spiritual concepts, spiritual beliefs, or the twisting and the distortion of spiritual beliefs and concepts. And so, because we are all spiritual beings, this really hits at the core of who we are, right? The core of why we were created and our purpose in this world. And it leaves people with feelings of being completely lost in who they were created to be. Okay. A religious narcissist is dangerous. They may not all be violent, okay? But I don't want you to get that confused to think that because they aren't violent, that they have not abused you or that you are not being abused. The religious narcissist has a lot of tactics. And one thing that you can be sure of is that even if they are not physically or sexually abusing you, they're more than likely doing it to someone. And so it becomes a collective effort that we not only are smart about these types of people, but that we expose them. We do not enable them. And we do not give them access to us or those that we love. But we have to be discerning individuals to know, how do we identify these people? And then once we identify them, how do we then carry ourselves to keep ourselves safe and those we love? Okay. So that was my shameless plug. Those are my 2 books. You can get them both on Kindle. This Religious Narcissist Decoded is a step-by-step guide to discerning the tactics and impact of religious narcissism. That is available in Kindle version, or you can get it completely free on my website. Okay. KingdomCodeAcademy.com. Okay. KingdomCodeAcademy.com. And let me, that is already in the description box, but let me go ahead and put it in the chat for you just to make it super easy. There's hyperlinks there so that all you have to do is click on the hyperlink that will take you directly to where you need to be, okay, to get both of those books whenever you can, okay? So I'll put that in the chat. That is posted in the chat. I'm going to pin it. That way it remains at the top of the chat. Can y'all hear that thunder, Jesus? Okay, let's get into it. So we did a bit of a brief recap here. Let's go ahead and get into this story, y'all, because I'm just so into it. Now, we talked about, of course, what discernment is not, right? And here she says, it's, understanding what discernment is not is a key component to understanding when you are actually discerning. Okay, that's why we need to know. That's why we need to know what it's not, so that we're not shooting in the dark here. Okay. Excuse me, you guys. Let me remove that from the screen. Okay. Remember, it's about sifting through information, good and bad information, in order to make the appropriate decisions for your life. Decisions that will protect you and yours, but decisions that will not require you to intentionally hurt others. Remember, we are not discerning for the purpose, right? Listen, discernment requires you to make judgments. Discernment is not about making judgments for the purpose of condemning, demeaning, degrading, diminishing, or devaluing another person in any way, shape, or form. Okay? So obviously, right? If you are doing that, if you are condemning, degrading, demeaning, diminishing, or devaluing anyone in any way, shape, or form, then you are not discerning. Okay? Discernment is simply not about being right or wrong, or about mindlessly passing judgment, or even about discriminating. Although, remember, on some level, judging and discriminating are important aspects of the process of discerning. But here is your checks and balances system, right? Your checks and balances is you're not making judgments for the purpose of condemning, degrading, demeaning, diminishing, or devaluing anyone in any way, shape, or form. Okay? So now let's get into, we already talked about this one scenario. This one here where it says not my emergency, and all of the great life lessons and discerning lessons that we learned from that scenario. But let's go ahead and get into another scenario, y'all. You know, I live, honey, for these scenarios, because it shows you exactly how you can apply discernment to life in many different scenarios. And I believe that a lot of times people think of discernment as some really grand spiritual concept that is out of reach for a lot of people, right? But it's not. Everyone has it. It's a matter of activating it and putting that muscle to practice, right? Putting that muscle to work in our lives, using it as our compass, as our GPS, as our navigation system for how we move about in this world, how we interact with people, the relationships we do and do not get into, the money that we do and do not spend, the time that we do and do not spend, the social media sites that we do and do not get on, the shows that we do and do not watch, right? Because discerning individuals know that they have to guard themselves. They have to guard themselves, their ear gates, their eye gates. But we ain't even got into that yet, honey, okay? Because we talking about lending money today. So let's get into it. Now, here she says, let's look at another example where the crux of the matter is that someone is trying to place their problems in another person's lap. Okay? Example number 2, I just don't have it to give. I ain't got it, okay? I ain't got it. Here is the dilemma that is presented to you. You have a favorite cousin you adore. Oh my gosh, them cousins, y'all, them cousins. We done had 2 back-to-back cousin scenarios. Okay? Them cousins might get you every time, child. Okay? You have a favorite cousin you adore, a cousin who has helped you in the past by watching your children. Oh man, now we got them cousins that you feel like you owe them. Okay. You know that this cousin has a low paying job. And as a single mother of 2 boys and 1 girl, oh, she got 3 of them. One of her children is under the age of 11. No, all of her children, excuse me. All of her children are under the age of 11. Today, she calls and asks you for money. You are not in a financial position to lend money to anyone, but you do know that your financial position is better than your cousin's financial position. Ooh, specifically, both you and your husband have good paying jobs, but you also have 4 children of your own, and one is in her first year of college. It is the beginning of fall and all the kids are going back to school. Oh, y'all. Oh, y'all. Aren't we there right now? Like, aren't we there right now? This is going to really hit home for somebody in real time. Excuse me. Because we are actually at that season right now. It's fall. The kids are going back to school. We probably got some kids that have just left the home, just got into their dorms, right? Oh my gosh. And y'all already know you got to move the kid. You got to get them set up in their dorm rooms. You got to decorate the room. You got to get them up there. You might have to get them a car because once they get up there, they need transportation while that. Oh my goodness. All of the things. All of the things. Ooh. You have just enough money for tuition, clothes, and all the necessities for your children. That's all you got, sis. Oh, that's all you got, sis. You ain't got no more. You ain't got it. You ain't got it, okay? This is all you got. You got just enough. Just enough for tuition, clothes, and all the necessities for your chillins, okay? Not the kids. Not the kids. Not the little baby goats, but the chillins. The children, okay? You know we made big sacrifices for them chillins. You also have a sizable mortgage and made several repairs to the house over the summer that needed to be made. Basically, child, you tapped out. You are tapped out financially. You ain't got it. Okay? You ain't got it. Your cousin is in need of money to purchase a used car. She is receiving child support from the children's father. She does have a job that pays a little more than minimum wage, but she does not have enough money to purchase a car that costs $2,500. She has come to you for the full $2,500. $100. Y'all, she needs you to give it all. She said, "Cuz, I need you to pay this for this whole car. I need a car, child." Oh, child. What you gonna do, sis? What are you gonna do? I'm already feeling the stress for you, for my sisters in this position right now. She promises that she will pay you back in 3 weeks. Oh my goodness. Not in no 3 weeks, not 2,500. She need honey, She is not gonna pay you back. I can tell you that right now. I ain't even gotta read the rest of the story. She is not gonna pay you back in no 3 weeks, okay? So she promises that she will pay you back in 3 weeks. But you recall that she borrowed $1,000 from you 3 years ago. And you are still waiting to receive payment. She ain't even put $50 down on that thousand she owed you from 3 years ago, y'all. Child, what you gonna do? Oh, you got decisions to make. This family member is a great person. You love your cousin. I know you do. One of your favorites. Oh, this your favorite cousin. And she watched your kids in the past. And your kids love and adore her, y'all. Oh my goodness. But you simply do not have the money to lend. And if you did decide to lend out money, you would definitely need the money back within the 3 weeks in order to fulfill certain needs for your family. Oh, y'all, listen. I told you, my mama told me, honey, if you can't afford to just give it away, mm-mm. Don't lend it, child, especially if you need it by a certain time period. And you already know based on the history, she still owe you $1,000 from 3 years ago. She didn't put $50, $100 down on that last payment she owes you, child. And you need this. Like, if you don't get this money back in 3 weeks, you're gonna be in a lurch. Oh, child, this is tough. So now the question is, okay. Oh, we gotta put on our thinking caps, honey. Okay. The question is, considering all of this information, will you lend your cousin the money or not? Oh, child. Oh, decisions, decisions. How many of us are in this position right now in real time? How many? Like, we were just set back, right? Because the kids went back to school. That means we got to pay for lunches again. I mean, granted, right? The kids went back to school. So now our grocery budget at home is better. Okay. But now the kids are back at school. So now you got school lunches that you got to pay for. And then sometimes the kids have practices and they got all the things they got to do after school. So sometimes you can't even go home and really cook. So now you going through somebody drive through. You need money for that. And then sometimes girl, not to mention you still got to pay your own car note. You still got to pay your own insurance. You just had a kid to go out to college. And it's not even close. The college isn't even close. So you already know that that's going to be another expense. You never know what kind of hidden fees are going to come up with that. Child need a new computer, new laptop. Child, all these class fees. Mm, 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 mm. And sometimes you got to front tuition before you can, before any other payment kicks in. So you already had to put that money out. What are you going to do, child? And then, in 3 weeks, mortgage is going to be coming due. So you're going to have this money. And your cousin said, this your favorite cousin, y'all. This your favorite cousin. Okay? This your girl. Like, y'all been down like 4 flats since day one, since y'all was knee high to a grasshopper and everything. How do you make this choice? Now, do you just go off of like, just, okay, this is my cousin and like this is my favorite and she has done stuff for me in the past, even though she hadn't paid me back, so she didn't do that. But My babies do adore her, and then that's my favorite cousin. I can always call on her when I want to talk and gossip about stuff. What y'all gonna do? Oh, this is oh, child. Decisions, decisions. But how many times are we faced with these decisions in our everyday lives and we simply don't have some type of blueprint, a moment to really even gather our thoughts, put our emotions in check, put all the facts down, right? The pros and cons of the situation. We don't do the analysis of the situation, and then we end up in a worse situation. This is what discernment is all about in your everyday life, right? Is that even when you are presented with a scenario like this, and you've got all of these factors that really pull at your heartstrings, because I can totally understand, you just really want to help because that's your girl. You don't even really want to consider all the facts of the situation, that this person is not going to pay you back, that you really can't afford to give it, that if you do give it, you need it back, and you can't afford to not get it back. You're a whole married woman. How do you reconcile that with your husband? You know, how do you reconcile that with your husband? Because more than likely, he's not even going to come from the perspective of these heartstrings that you have for your cousin. And think about how many marriages are at these major decision points that now this has caused stress between a married couple because we don't see eye to eye about lending money. Y'all, I'm telling you, this stuff goes deep. That's why you cannot afford to not be discerning in every decision that you make in your life. Everything you do, you need to use discernment. Now let's keep going in the story. Because Chada added my whole little 2 cents and everything to it. All right. Once again, all the information you need in order to make the right decision is available to you. Using your ability to discern, you should confidently conclude that you should not lend the family member the money. Why? Why, y'all? And she gonna ask you why too. So it's like, so you already feeling pressure to have to come up with the whole list of reasons you got to give your cousin to let her know, sis, cuzzo, I cannot do this. Okay, I ain't got it. First and foremost, you already know that you do not have the money to lend. You don't have it. And really, that should be the end of it. That's the end of the story. Because if you don't have it, you don't have it. Right? But for a lot of us, that is not the end of the story. That is not the end. We take it further, we take it further, we take it further, and we end up in a terrible situation ourselves. Now, all of the other factors and pieces of information just serve to create confusion. And will provoke you to act on emotion. Right? And we just talk about this. Now, all of these factors are pulling at your heartstrings, right? You've already established. First and foremost, you already know that you do not have the money to lend. You don't have it. You don't have it. But now, right? Because that wasn't the end of the story for you. Because you consider all of these other factors. Well, that's my favorite cousin. That's my girl. That's my girl. And how many conversations have we had, honey? I can't just ignore that. I can't ignore that. Like, we've been through the trenches together, right? We got this whole trauma bond situation going on. We understand each other. But how many times do we make decisions based off of those emotions and those things that pull at our heartstrings that really have no room in a discerning decision-making process? because we already know, you already know you don't have it. You don't have the money to lend. Okay? What is the biggest distractor in this scenario? What's the biggest distractor? What would be the biggest distractor for you? What's the biggest distractor? It is the fact that you love and care for this person. It is the emotion that you feel that is keeping you from making a logical, wise, discerning decision. You need to understand that if you love someone, you will still love them, even though you may not be in a financial position to help them. Now, how many times have people tried to guilt us? Guilt us, making us feel that we are less than loving. Oh, you don't love me because you're not doing this and this and this for me. Because you have not made my problem your problem. Because you have not made my emergency your emergency. You couldn't possibly love me. And there we are again, faced with making the decision based off of emotion. If you are caught up on the love and affection you feel for this person, and you feel the need to get involved, then you can help them figure out a way of solving the problem without it hurting you. That's if. That is if you still decide to get involved. Because you do totally have the choice still to not and get involved. This is not easy, but you must navigate your way through the situation rationally. Using your ability to discern in this situation will make sure you do just that. You are considering your emotions when it comes to making an overall decision, sure. Do not dismiss your emotions because that is a powerful tool itself. But it is only a tool that is to be used in your ultimate building, right? In your ultimate building of your decisions. And it must be put in its proper context and not given more weight and reliability than it should be given. Meaning that if a person gives their emotions the highest weight and reliability in this situation, then more than likely they're going to make a decision that is going to cause them more problems. Okay. For example, perhaps you can suggest that your cousin consider buying a car that costs less money. That's an option. That's an option, right? Let's keep searching for a car that is going to be equally reliable, low on miles, has a good record, right? A good Kelly Blue Book value as well as a Carfax record, right? But that is better for you financially, right? That's an option. Maybe you can help her construct a budget that will assist her in working towards purchasing a car that she can afford. Huh. Look at that. There's already two options right there. Now, keep in mind, you can always still choose not to get involved, right? That is always still your choice. But you say, hey, that is my favorite cousin. So let me do what I can do, right? Let me do what I can do. So let me say, girl, You know what I'm saying? Cuzzo, let's go ahead. I'm gonna come over, or let's jump on a live, put you on speakerphone, child. Let's get on our phones and we're gonna search and see if we could find you. I have a friend who sells cars, and maybe he could hook you up. Or maybe in about a month, since you feel like you're gonna have the money to pay me back in 3 weeks, how about we wait 3 weeks? Huh? How about you wait 3 weeks? And I'm gonna come through and I'm gonna pick you up. I'm gonna take you where you need to go in this 3 weeks time period. That's the contribution that I can make as your cousin who loves you, who cares about you, and who wants to help but is unable to help in the way that you want me to. I got you. I'm gonna come pick you up. I'm gonna leave the house, an hour early every day so I can come pick you up. I'm gonna scoop you up, cause you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna drop you off at your job. Now you gonna get there about 30 minutes early because I gotta pick you up early so I could just make it to my job across the way, you know. And so I'm gonna pick you up, and then I'm gonna go ahead and drop you off. And you could just chill, or you can go ahead and get your day started early. That always looks good to the employer when you get there early, you go ahead and get your day started or whatever, you know. And then so I can be across town so I could drop my kids off, and then I could be at work on time myself. And then in 3 weeks, what I'm saying, I'm gonna take you down there to the spot, because then you're gonna have the $2,500 that you need then, right? And then we're gonna go ahead and get you a car. Now I can deal with that. I could deal with that for 3 weeks, right? I could deal with that for 3 weeks. So that's my contribution, because I can't give you $2,500. But I can commit to getting up, leaving the house an hour early every day for 3 weeks so that I could, take you where you need to go until you get up the money to buy the car yourself. Think about that. Think about that. Now, let's go even further. Here she says, even further, maybe after you look at your own budget, you may determine that you can help her out with some extra money next month, or a couple of months down the road. Huh. Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna look at my budget. I can't give you $2,500, but I can contribute, right? I can contribute. Next thing, the possibilities are plentiful, but you must look at the situation fully and objectively in order to discern what you can or cannot do. This is discernment, y'all. This is discernment, because it teaches you, hey, let me put my thinking cap on. Y'all remember when y'all remember when they used to say that? Put your thinking cap on. Okay. Let me think about this, because this is my cousin and I love her very much, right? And I want to help in any way I can, but I cannot do $2,500 without putting myself in a worse situation, right? Okay. So let's keep going. This is especially true if the person truly matters to you. Huh. Because, like I said to you earlier, you are under no obligation. Okay. And I need to reiterate that, because there are so many of us who feel obligated to go above and beyond for the people that we love, even to our own detriment, even to the point where we become doormats. Even to the point where we have put ourselves in such a bad position that now we are angry and resentful to the very loved ones that we felt obligated to do for. How many times has that happened? Has that ever happened in your life? Okay. So, this is a way that protects you and preserves relationships. You cannot think of discernment and consequently even boundaries, right? You cannot think of it in such a way that it only carries a negative connotation for you. This serves to protect you, to protect the other person, and to protect the relationship that you claim to hold dear. No, let me keep reading. No one is saying you have to ignore your feelings completely. That's not realistic, right? Don't ignore your emotions. Don't ignore what you feel. This is really not even, it's not even a realistic, it's not practical. But you absolutely must put your feelings in check and focus on the facts in order to grasp that win-win scenario that is within your reach. It's within your reach. There is nothing worse than helping someone you love in a way that places you at a disadvantage. This type of help often backfires on you. Haven't we seen that happen time and time again until we wisen up and we were like, you know what? I've got to be able to make better decisions. How can I create this win win scenario for people that I love, but also not put myself or anyone else in a harmful situation? Bad blood can be created when you help someone in a situation where the person could have waited or the person should have used a more appropriate alternative to solving their problem. She may be able to get a loan, and maybe you can even help her pay it off sooner. There are so many scenarios that can happen in this situation if you just discern, if you think critically, analyze the situation, right? Understand and be in touch with your emotions, but don't give them more weight and reliability in a situation where they're not reliable or they shouldn't carry weight on your decision. But I'm reading again. But instead, you allowed them to deprive you of something that you needed for you and your family. Do you know what this may lead to? Feelings of regret, anger, and a host of other emotions. And now you are resentful. And who knows, you may have just caused a whole bunch of problems in your marriage. Now your child is off at college and can't depend on you. You don't have the money to make sure that they can eat for the term, for the next few weeks, whatever. If you discern the situation after the fact, and look, she underlined after the fact, because how many times have we done that, right? We made an emotional decision in the beginning, and then after the fact, then we thought about it, right? Once we laid our head down on the pillow and had a moment to just think, right? Then we started to discern the situation afterward. Okay? If you discern the situation after the fact, you will find that the more you lament on what you did, you may begin resenting the person you helped. Did I not just say that? Didn't I just say that? You're like, dang, I shouldn't even helped her. Then it's like, well, we done had some real good conversations, but girl, we always gossiping anyway. It's like now now you start to rethink everything. I'm not gonna lie, I have done it myself. Okay. This this is exactly why discernment needs to take place up front, not on the back end. The back end leaves you with remorse, regret, hurt, and anger. In other words, the back end leaves you with even more emotions than you started with. Discern in the beginning. Okay? Discern. Will this make it easier if I try to? Can I blow this up a little bit? Let me see. Discern in the beginning is what she says. Okay, wait, where did I go? Did I just? Okay. Discern in the beginning to avoid this trap, but because you do not need any additional emotions to grapple with. If you succumb to this trap, and it is a trap, you run the high risk of harboring resentment towards someone you love and care about when you finally realize that you put them first to the detriment of yourself and your immediate family. This is not just about saying no. It's not about that, right? More importantly, it's about choosing the right outcome for the right reasons. There are times we want to do things, we want to help in a way that we just can't. You just cannot. And don't even burden yourself with thinking about all the emotional aspects of things when the logical answer is already there. In the beginning, you simply cannot lend it. You simply cannot lend the money because you don't have it. You don't have it. Okay? If nothing else, when you discern, you are sifting through all types of information, good, bad, irrelevant, and crucial, before you can be routed to the correct decision. Right? And I like how she put here, right, that you are sifting through all types of information, good, bad, irrelevant, and crucial. What does irrelevant mean? Irrelevant means that it's not connected with or relevant to something. Okay? It's not connected, which means that in this situation, it's really irrelevant how she feels about the cousin. That she really loves and care about her, that that's her favorite cousin, that they've been down since day one, right? Would they say down like 4 flats or something like that? Since we was knee high to a tadpole. None of that even matters. That's irrelevant to the overall decision that you have to make. So even though that information is there, you have to sift through that part and put it in its proper context as this is really not relevant to the decision that I have to make right now. Crucial. What does that mean? Decisive or critical, especially in the success or failure of something. What was the crucial information here in this scenario? The crucial information meant that she did not have the money to give. And if she had given it, it would have been it would have made the difference between success and failure. Success and failure of what? Her being able to pay her other bills. Her being able to maintain a relationship with that cousin, because surely that would have been affected. The relationship with her cousin, her husband. A lot of crucial things were happening in this moment that were actually relevant to the overall decision, okay? Before you can be routed to the correct decision, which means what? You have to sift through all of this information. Good, bad, irrelevant, and crucial. before you can be routed to the correct decision. Depending upon how well you have developed your ability to discern, you may need to sift through all the information before making a decision, right? Now, the fact that I don't have the money, I'm a discerner, right? I'm a little bit, like versed in this, right? I've practiced this, which is why I'm teaching this. That would just stop me right there. Oh, I don't have it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, cuz I don't have it. That would have already stopped me, right? But I would have considered, right? Well, I do love this person, so let me see what I can do. Now, that also does mean, right, in the grand scheme of things, that you are making a judgment about that person, right? Because another cousin may come to me and ask me for money, and I don't have to sift through any information. It's just a no. So yeah, I've made a judgment about that person, and I've even engaged in a bit of discriminating activity. But even in that instance, I am still using discernment, because why? It is not about demeaning, it is not about degrading, it's not about diminishing, it's not about judging for the purpose of condemning anybody. But some discerning decisions come quicker than others. Sometimes you sift a little longer for certain people than you sift for others. And guess what? That's okay. That's part of discernment. And that is totally okay. Let me continue reading. But let me share with you that someone who discerns regularly and consistently, however, would have determined on the spot that the answer in this scenario was no. And this is what I'm telling you. Sometimes you don't have to take the time to think about it. And then sometimes people will tell you, well, can you take some time to think about it? And you just like, no. You know what I'm saying? No, I won't. I have made a discerning decision, and I'm standing on that, right? Because they do not have the money to give. So you would have already said no because you don't have it. The fact that this family member already owes you money and hasn't paid it back as promised is also relevant information in deciding whether to lend this person money, especially if you need the money back within a certain time frame. And she didn't give you the money back from 3 years ago. And now she's promising you that she's going to give it back to you in 3 weeks. But she didn't give $1,000 back, which was a less amount of money in more time. She still hasn't given that back. But how many times will we have thrown that fact out of the window? We do it all the time. And I believe that in really, like, what I can see is that discernment is really thrown out of the window when we have to use discerning decisions in relationships. In relationships, because we have a connection on some level to a person, we tend to throw relevant information, facts about a situation or a person, analysis about a situation or a person. We even ignore a lot of times our intuition and our emotions. We throw them out the window because there is some other factor in the relationship dynamic that is clouding our judgment and our ability to discern. Think about it. Now, since you already know this person does not pay back on time, and you need the money back in order to fulfill your own obligations, why? Why would you lend to someone who you already know you can't rely upon to pay you back in time? Why would you do it? Why, sis? Why? Why would you do that to yourself? In other words, or excuse me, in the words of Tina Turner, what's love got to do with it? Hmm? What's love got to do with it? Serious. What's love got to do with it? You are setting yourself up for failure by placing yourself at the mercy of someone who you know is not reliable. You know this. Please do not do this to yourself and your family. Don't do this, sis. Don't do this. And seriously, you need somebody like me with compassion and love and respect for you to talk to you like this. Don't do this. Since you already know. I mean, come on now. Are you just gonna throw all of you just gonna throw all of them factors out the window, huh? You just gonna throw all of those factors out the window? Come on now, let's put our thinking caps on here. Oh shoot. What'd I just do? Hold on, y'all. I just closed out of this whole thing. Okay. Okay, my bad. There's lots of relevant information in this situation that will help you make the right decision. But really, the primary information you needed to pinpoint is the fact that you are not in a financial position to lend out the money. You ain't got it. You ain't got it, sis. Okay? This is a fact. If you ignored that fact and was leaning towards lending your cousin money due to your affection for her, the second piece of information about her payment history should have been the next gatekeeper to stop you. If you need to continue discerning, right, and analyzing the situation, you still sifting through the information, right? The information that is there for you. Okay. So we cannot pretend, as we like to do from time to time, that the information isn't there. It's there. It's there, right? So if you didn't stop at the fact that you didn't have it, then your next stop, right, should be at this next fact, her payment history. Okay. That information is the fact that this person already owes you money that she has not paid back for 3 years. She hasn't paid back $1,000 in 3 years, and you expect her to pay back nearly $3,000 in 3 weeks. What you thinking of, sis? What are we doing here? That's what you got to ask yourself. Like, just talk to yourself like in real life, like real life talk, real talk. Okay, real talk. What are we doing here? You also know that you need this money for your own children. Therefore, you have no business placing yourself in a position that will have an adverse effect on your family. I mean, you don't have to call yourself out, but I mean, at least just do a nod within your own head. You don't have to put it in the chat, but just acknowledge you've done this before. because you weren't using discernment. But now you are armed. You are ready. You got on like your superpower, okay? And you know you're not gonna lose. And even your friend, I mean your cousin, right? They're not gonna lose either. But at the end of the day, discerning is about doing what's right overall for you and your loved ones. Again, it says here, the only way you would lend the money under these circumstances is to allow anything other than the facts take over your decision making. You letting everything else take over. In other words, you would toss your ability to discern to the side. And what I say, you toss it out the window, honey. Okay. It's like you going down the road and you just be like, you just toss it out. So now it's like, you toss something out of a moving vehicle, right? It's like it bounces, it like goes across the road. Like it doesn't just drop. It just like it drops and it's like you keep going and the other thing goes in the opposite direction, right? Because that's how stuff does when you drop it out the window and you in motion, right? It's like it's going one way and you going the other way. That's how I like to think of it when you throw your discernment out of the window because you are still going down a path, right? But you've just thrown your whole navigation system, your GPS, you threw it out the window and now it's tossed on the side of the road, off in the median, in the dirt, in the ditch, in the woods somewhere, and you not using it. So here she says, in other words, you toss your ability to discern to the side and act on your affinity for this family member who has helped you out in the past. As admirable and heartfelt as this sounds, it is not a good idea. It's just not a good idea, sis. I understand. I really do. I understand. But you cannot help in the way that she is asking you to because you don't have it. You can't. You cannot. Okay? Using your ability to discern will never allow you to place your family in a negative position in order to benefit someone else. Okay? The fact is that you are not responsible for the position this family member has found herself in, and you are not responsible for improving her condition at your expense. Notice in this scenario, we never talked about her situation with her baby daddy. We never talked about how many kids she has and she's single. Why don't she already have a car? She working this minimum wage job and she can't even hardly take care of her kids. She not even really getting child support from her baby daddy. You know, she don't even want to put him on child support, but she over here asking me for money. Where you think this resentment is going to go that you end up developing for this cousin by sticking your neck out there and becoming a doormat in a situation where you knew better, but you didn't do better? Hmm? I promise you, this person will not be your favorite cousin for long. Because when it comes to this person, you are not discerning. You have decided to throw your discernment out of the window. You threw your superpower away. I don't want my cousin to do that for me. I don't want that. I mean, there are times where I might find myself in need, but I don't want those who I love to make decisions, not even when it comes to me. Do I want those I love to make decisions that are not sound, that are not wise, that put them in a harmful situation. For me, I don't want that. I don't want that. So I would even challenge you as we are going over these questions and going over this discernment stuff to really take a critical and like analysis for real, y'all, about the relationships that you find yourself in that promotes for you to, requires you to, condemns you for using your discernment. Because I truly love who I love and I love those who love me and I love people in general. I would never want someone to throw their discernment out of the window when it comes to me. How could I even be sure that they are even acting in my best interest? If when it came to making a decision about me, it wasn't a discerning one. Think about that. Oh, I be going off on tangents. Anyway, under the current facts, you simply cannot help her. And quite frankly, there are other options that may be available to her that she should pursue. This is not your problem to solve if it will cause you and your family to suffer in any way. But if you insist on helping her, you need to do so cautiously and responsibly. Okay, here is an assessment test to use in this situation. See, this is why I'm telling you, I love Ara Mako and how she structured this book because these are real life scenarios that we find ourselves in time after time. And when you really think about situations, maybe you weren't directly involved, but maybe you witnessed it, right? Because I'm telling you, where we tend to throw out our discernment in our relationships, our discernment seems to be at an all-time high when we're judging or looking on at other people's relationships, right? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that you can give other people advice and you see things that other people don't see when you're on the outside looking into their situation? But when you're actually in a situation, where is your discernment? Where is your discernment? So here are some assessment questions, and it says discerning when lending money. Here are the assessment questions. Are you in a financial position to lend out money? If the answer is no, you need not go any further with the analysis. That's where like that's it. That's the end of it. That's the end of the discussion. I ain't got it. I ain't got it. Okay? You need to inform the person that you are unable to assist at this time. Okay. Number two, if you determine that you cannot assist at the present time, but you can assist in the future, right? You will need to assess if the future assistance is feasible and will not leave you at a deficit. There are times when we promise that we will do something at a later date without giving it an assessment at a later date. And we feel then we've obligated ourselves, right? There's nothing wrong with saying, well, check back with me in a few weeks or in a month. And, I may be able to do that then. Okay. Some of the questions will require you to focus on the person borrowing the money. Remember, I was telling you, it's some people that I won't even consider. I'm not even going to consider it. There's some people I will consider, and it won't be an immediate no. Maybe it's like a delayed no. I don't I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I reserve the right. And I'm absolutely going to use my discernment in any and every situation that I'm in. Okay? Will you need the money back within a certain time? right? If so, how reliable is the borrower? You have to ask yourself that question. Maybe the problem isn't that the person won't pay you back, but they're not going to pay you back in a time period that you need them to. Maybe it's going to take her 3 years to pay it back, but you need it in 3 weeks. Do you see what I'm saying? So sometimes you even can say, well, yeah, this person does pay me back, but they do not honor the timeline that they promised to pay me back in. And I need this person to pay back in this timeline. So even though that person may pay back, the fact that they won't pay back in the time frame that I need them to is then the deal breaker. Hmm? Give it that proper analysis whenever making a decision, y'all. If the person is reliable, then you can proceed with lending what you can afford. If you are unsure if the person is reliable, you should either decide not to lend the money, right? Or inquire as much as you can to determine if you should lend the money. Number 5, before lending the money, make sure lending the money will not cause problems between you and your family. If it will, do not lend. In the beginning of the story, they told the scenario that this person who was being asked, right, to lend the money is married and has children, has 4 children. The husband is working too. Does that put an additional strain on the husband? Does the husband now have to work additional hours to make up for the money that the wife decided to lend out? And then that creates a hardship on him. But I'm telling you that people are faced with these decisions every day, and they are making detrimental choices, choices based off of emotion, choices made off of some relational bond, right? Information that is irrelevant to the overall decision making that needs to happen in the situation. It's information that is there, but it really has no place in the ultimate decision. You have to sift through the information, the good, the bad, the irrelevant, and the crucial, to make the best decision for you and your loved ones. Now, if at the end of the day you lend the money and you end up feeling better emotionally because you gave the money to someone you loved, count the costs. Count the cost of the problems that it causes with your children, what they may have to go without, what bills may then be delayed, and now you've gotten compound interest. Now you've got late fees and penalties. Count the cost of the confusion that it caused with your life partner, your husband, that you have now added that burden on too. And there are some of us who won't even have the common decency to have that discussion with our life partner. You won't even have the discussion with the person who is impacted by your decision. You have simply made an emotional decision and caused everyone else in your orbit to suffer. And it happens all the time. And it happens in light, semi-light situations, maybe such as this, or the last scenario that we talked about the cable bill, right? And then it happens even on larger scales where life and limb and liberty are really at risk. Situations on a larger scale where life, limb, and liberty really are at risk. If you are not discerning in your everyday life, then you are not discerning, period. You don't just kick in this whole level of discernment when there's more at stake. Because if it is not a muscle that you are using, it is not a muscle that you are using on any level. And you have to think about things, even though we are talking about it in simple forms, in everyday scenarios, you have to realize that there are deeper and more and bigger implications for the decisions that we make. We have politicians who are not discerning. We have people with guns who are not discerning. Do you understand how important discernment is in this world that is full of deception? And not only deception, y'all, right? Because let's not forget where discernment comes from. It is a God given gift. Everything is spiritual. So while we are talking about discernment in a natural, in a secular way, you have to realize, you must realize that it's much deeper than a cable bill. It's much deeper than a used car. This is simply building the foundation for us to be able to make wise decisions on higher levels. So we think about discernment in the sense of our everyday movements, but we also need to think about discernment in where we are placing our money. Do you know that some places you may give to, you may be funding a trafficking ring? You may be funding a cartel. You may be funding the absolute most harmful, diabolical, demonic entities, organizations, and people. So when you learn to discern in your everyday life, then you grow in discernment. You grow deeper spiritually in understanding that even while we are using these simple everyday scenarios, that we are ultimately spiritual beings and that ultimately we are learning so that we can apply these same principles, the same foundation to deeper spiritual things that are very much happening in our world around us. So, I don't really like to go too deep because not everybody's there. Not everybody can understand that, right? Not everybody can understand the things that I just said in the last 5, 10 minutes just then. But I'm just giving you a bit of a hint, a bit of foreshadowing, if you will, about the higher calling that we are all called to align ourselves spiritually to love one another, to respect one another, to have dignity for one another, simply because we are human beings, but also to be aware of the forces that are out there, forces that may come through the very people that we love. So we cannot allow our emotions, how we feel about a person, the reverence about a person, to even cloud our decision making when we know that we are not all going to choose the right path, the enlightened path. We are not all going to choose to be followers of Jesus. Some of us will choose the devil in its many forms, doing various things, but some of us may choose that. But when we learn to discern on this basic level, right, just our everyday human experiences, then we grow ourselves better able to handle spiritual matters. I hope that makes sense, right? I really hope that that makes sense. And I hope that you are got like you're in this for the long haul, and that you are committed to becoming the discerner that you are called to be. We're all called to it. We're all given that gift. I'm really not any more special than you. I believe that I have a keen sense of discernment. I believe, and I have practiced and I have studied. I've done the work now to be in a position to teach, to coach, to assist and guide you on your journey. But I'm no more special than you. You have the gift too. You just need to activate. You need to elevate and you need to transform. But right now, we are just at activation level. I just want you to activate. Just activate discernment in your life. Okay, you guys, I've already shown you. I've already shown you the books that you can purchase of mine. And so you already know about that. So I won't pull those back up. But I will be back. I'm trying to decide because, excuse me, I'm supposed to be starting this class at 5:30 and it's 4:49 right now. I still have to print off some documents or like for the class and all of that stuff. But like I said, I am getting ready to launch my signature coaching program, right? To help you make the best decisions of your life. Okay? With the foundation of discernment. It is absolutely going to transform your life. Transform your life. You will have confidence, you will have peace. You will rest easy at the end of the day when you lay your head down on that pillow, that you're not full with resentment and regret, kicking yourself, kicking yourself in the behind for the decisions that you've made that day. You won't be making discerning decisions on the back end. You're going to make discerning decisions in the beginning because you're going to activate that muscle and I am going to help you do it, honey. Okay. So I am your discernment and relationship coach, honey. Delores, the pastor's daughter. Okay. You know I love you guys. That is why I do what I do, honey. Okay. And remember, you are important to me. I need you to survive. I love you. Bye bye for now.